Hey, I'm Josh. Christian with Nitsch sent this out. This is the Nitsch Piety, and it's actually one of the most interesting and unique products in the entire world of audio. So, what is it? This is a fully discrete solid-state amplifier that, with some adjustments, sounds like a tube amplifier, but better. The changes to this include a massively parallel transistor output stage strapped to a continuity circuit that is tweaked from Jotunheim 2. So this actually shares some DNA with a Magni and with the Jotunheim, but with some other adjustments to make this just a little bit more tubey. Adjustments to things like its distortion characteristics, its gain curves, and it utilizes square waves to resemble a tube amp sound. Now, all this stuff you can just read on their website, but I'm here to tell you that it actually works. And for the first time ever, I think that they're actually underselling this product. This is actually better than I think they're making it out to be. So let's get one thing straight here. This sounds convincingly like a tube amplifier. It's like no hint of solid state sound in here at all. And yet it comes with all of the benefits of being solid state. And this is where I think the real magic of this amplifier happens. Because you might be asking yourself, why not just buy a tube amplifier if you like the tube sound that much? And that's three things. One, there's no tube bullshit. There's no ringing, buzzing, hissing, noise floor, no waiting for the tubes to warm up. You don't have to deal with any of that crap with this. It's just clean. Two is IEMs. Because this is solid state, because it's got no noise floor, and it doesn't have that weird gain that a lot of tube amps have where they start off really strong right at first, this can run IEMs, even sensitive ones, with no issues, but implementing a tube-like sound to it. The other benefit, which is a massive W over tube amplifiers, especially in the budget realm, which this currently occupies only a $175 price tag, which is insane for what it's able to do. This can run planar magnetic headphones, and I mean all of them, in a way that normal tube amps can't even play. See, on a normal tube amp, especially in the budget realm, even the good ones like the Oppo's Gremlin, they're going to have either a roll-off in the bass response for a planar magnetic, or they're just going to straight up have clipping. So if you listen to a planar magnetic headphone on a dark voice, especially a really demanding headphone, let's take one of the most demanding ones like a Susvara Unveiled, you'll have straight up really strong bass distortion to the point where the bass actually clips, and you'll hear it like kind of cap out, and the bass will hit like a wall, and you just won't get those bass dynamics from it. If you've tried it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This thing can literally run Susvara Unveiled with stronger bass than a reference solid state, which is just wild. It's insane. Like literally, it's so insane that it can do this. So I think that leads me into sound. If you were used to a solid state like dance where you're going from one solid state to another one saying like, this is really, it's like a minor improvement, but it doesn't sound that much different. This is unlike any other solid state you will try. Even solid states that are designed to sound a little bit more natural or warmer, they really don't go as far and as hard in the paint as this does for that sound. This is convincingly tube amp and sounds vastly different, even to the point where a complete amateur could understand and hear the difference between a reference solid state with completely neutral flat performance and this. The difference is major. This is much more comparable to actual tube amplifiers than it is solid state amplifiers. So some frequency-based adjustments is basically just a general tilt. You can expect more bass than reference solid state. You can expect a warmer mid-range than reference solid state, and you can expect a darker treble than reference solid state. And since that tilt happens all kind of at once, the entirety of your frequency response just generally gets darker, warmer, and bassier. Now the vocals are a fair bit of fun. They have a lot of kind of syrupy slowness to them. They just have characteristics that I would typically associate with really well-performing higher end tube amplifiers, or something that is just an incredible value, something like an Oppo's Gremlin that also has warmer kind of vocal characteristics. And they still have things like good vocal isolation and good ability, but just generally speaking, you can expect a much warmer vocal delivery with a softer top end than a solid state. Now, you can also expect the same exact thing when it comes to the treble response. It's just a little bit darker. It doesn't feel under detailed for the price range. It just feels like it's brought down in terms of output ability. And then the bass is kind of the opposite. It's enhanced to quite a nice level, actually. It's very, very warm sounding. Now, you might also be asking yourself, can't you just do all this stuff with EQ? And I think that some characteristics of this you can emulate with EQ, except there's a lot that this is doing in terms of distortion, things like that square wave output that is just not really possible to do with EQ. you won't get the same sound. You might get something that is darker or warmer with EQ, but you won't quite get the harmonic capabilities that this is outputting. So this is still going to be proprietary as of right now with today's technology to physical design implementation on how this has been done. Now, because this isn't actually a tube amplifier, this has some real big benefits when it comes to planars like I talked about. So you could take a closed back, relatively demanding planar magnetic headphone like this Caldera closed. The way I would describe the sound signature is very technical and a little bit bass light despite being a closed back planar actually. This being paired with the Piety is actually, it kind of fixes every complaint that I would have about this headphone. It enhances the bass to a really nice level. And because it's got solid state bass output, it's actually solid and unbroken and doesn't sound distorted beyond like comprehension. The treble and mid-range warmth added here matched with the detail ability of the Caldera ends up being this hyper detailed but more enjoyable sounding headphone than it is on a reference solid state. And normally with this headphone, I would recommend pairing it with something like a tube amplifier to get its warmth ability higher up to be a bit more enjoyable and a little bit less technical. But because it's planar, most tube amps can't do that until you get into like the ultra high end stuff that has a bit better ability. But this can do that for $175. So yeah, this is a very unique product. Now, that does not mean it's without its downsides. In terms of width and sound staging ability, there are a couple amps, even cheaper ones that will get a little bit wider out. Something like that Opus Gremlin, it's like $120. That is a fully balanced tube amplifier, and that will have a bit better width than this will. But it won't be able to drive planars nearly as well, especially for bass, as this can. So there's upsides and downsides to both designs. Nitsch also doesn't currently make a matching DAC for this. So the finish of this is going to be proprietary towards Nitsch, and they don't currently have a DAC that matches, which is a bit unfortunate. You will always be dealing, at least currently, with a slightly mismatched system. Another downside is that this is a limited run that's not always available. Same thing with the bigger brother Pietus Maximus, which is going to be a review I'm doing soon. Luckily, both of these right now are actually in stock, so jump on it while you can. And these are both great. I'll be doing a review of this a little bit later on, but this is basically just the bigger brother, slightly better version of this, but it also costs a lot more. But it can come with things like a DAC, so if you want like this nice all-in-one, yeah, it's got benefits. We'll talk about it. So as of right now, my conclusion is pretty simple. I think that Nitsch actually stands relatively alone in this category. This does a better job in some capacities than even really good tube hybrid amplifiers, and doesn't come with some of the downsides that even those come with. I think that this is a more convincing sound signature in some ways than even something like a DA22, which I really liked. If you're looking for something that just seems overwhelmingly tube-like, that's sort of what you'll get with this. Now, amongst tube amplifiers, even budget ones, it's not the best tube sound you can get, but it comes with the added benefit, which is a huge benefit of being able to get tube sound on a planar for cheap, which is not something that those budget tube amps can do. So my conclusion is actually pretty simple. I would 100% recommend this to almost anybody who likes a warm sound signature. This is a really well-performing amplifier on a subjective level. If you want objective performance, just get a regular Magni. If you want subjective things like added warmth, better bass response, awesome distortion characteristics that emulate a tube amp, then this is just 100% obvious a must buy. My only real advice would just be to buy it while you can. Okay, last couple thoughts. That looks like a murder scene back there. I'm not Dexter, I promise. I'm restoring this old red wagon. So yeah, that's why it looks a little wild back there. My second thought is that a lot of times I don't actually consider what other people think of a brand or a product. I try to keep my opinion sort of isolated from others. There are products that I love that a lot of other people hate and vice versa. Nitsch is one of those brands that they have like no detractors. Like it's almost impossible to find a negative review of this. And I think that's simply because they've just built a good product. And that's it. It delivers on sound, it delivers on functions for the price, build quality for the price, and then the price is its own benefit as well. So I think they've done a good job. And I would sort of describe the fans of Nitsch, including myself, to be like a bit feral. Like I feel highly defensive of this company now. Anybody who says anything that's like, well, I don't know, this might be better, I'm kind of like, a little aggro with it at this point. But yeah, I really like what Nitsch is doing so far. So 10 out of 10 would recommend. All right, that's it. Thanks a lot, Christian, for sending this out. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.